Before we start into threading and winding a bobbin on the Pfaff Quilt Ambition 630 sewing machine, I want to walk you through the accessories that come with this machine. So if it's brand new, they are stored in the front little accessory box here. By the way, you can slide this off and have the free arm of the machine. But by leaving it on, it does extend the work surface around the needle for your project. So in no particular order here, we're just going to start pulling out accessories and showing you what comes with this machine. So let's start off with bobbins, because I'm noticing there is a bobbin in the machine that is empty, and there are 4 additional ones in the bag. Let me talk about these bobbins. They are easy to find. They are considered a class 15 plastic bobbin. So make sure that you're not using a metal one. There's no difference between plastic or metal, but this machine is set for the weight of the lighter weight bobbin. So make sure that you don't mix and match. Just because it says it's a Pfaff bobbin doesn't mean it's the Pfaff bobbin for this machine. So make sure you don't use anything other than that particular bobbins. But 5 is never enough for me. Next time you're ordering supplies or picking up some extra feed at your local Pfaff retailer, pick up a pack or 2 of bobbins. I sew with approximately 15 to 20 bobbins at my fingertips at all times. So let's talk about all the great feet that are on and come with this machine. One thing you'll notice on the screen as you pick different stitches, it will tell you which of these feet you are to be using at any given time. So as you go up to a different stitch, you'll notice that the foot eventually will change. For example, like here it says 2A. So that's a foot that is a little bit bigger. There's a cutout on the back, so that's great for your decorative stitches. As you can see, that's going to be a very solid satin stitch. So there needs to be room for that to flow out the back side. So there's a couple different feet for those basic utility stitches. There's a zipper foot, so zipper foot number 4 comes with this machine, and some of the feet actually have these little indents like this one, a little cutout, and that's going to be for what is called the Pfaff IDT. That's that black part that comes down on the back side of the machine and works like as a walking foot. So on a zipper foot, you can actually put the zipper foot on the right or the left, and then their opening is for the IDT. So that's why there's 2 of them. So just make sure these 3 little points are pointing to the back side. I have had students put it on the wrong way. So just make sure you can read the number 4 and know to keep your IDT engaged for perfect feeding when working with zippers. We'll do one of those in one of the videos. Foot number 3, I actually use quite a few times throughout the machine. We use it for a blind hem, we use it for some top stitching, and also for overlock or serger-like stitches. And this guide is adjustable for all different types of techniques. So you'll see this one come up once again quite a few times for the different stitches we'll be showing you. Let's talk about the quilting feet that come with this machine. There is a 1/4 inch foot with all these fabulous markings, and of course you want to make sure you're always on a straight stitch when using this particular foot. Now I'm going to give you a hint right now. There's a place in the settings that you can go in and it says stitch width safety. If you turn that stitch width safety on, it will make sure that you don't accidentally pick a zigzag and break your needle, because there's only one little hole for the needle to go in and out, and that's in the center. So with that stitch width safety on, it will keep your needle in the center where it should be. Another foot that comes with is the free motion quilting foot. So if you want to get into free motion quilting, you have plenty of space in here. You have great lighting. Look at all the great lighting. You've got lighting here, you've got lighting here, and you have lighting here. You're going to be able to see where you're going. So we'll do a video also on the free motion quilting part. Now one other foot that is included is your automatic 1-step buttonhole with a place for the button in the back. So you put it on, you tell the machine you want to do a buttonhole, you can press the start button. Okay, well, you have to have the foot down to do it. Push the start button, it'll do an entire buttonhole for you and actually stop at the end. And if you needed 2 buttonholes or 100 buttonholes, they'll be perfect every single time. So if you need to do some buttonholes, that is super easy. Now you ask, well, what about a foot to sew on buttons? And on this machine, you don't use a foot, so you just take this foot off and you actually use the ankle to sit on a button. So technically you have that feature, And you have a built-in stitch, by the way, to do that, just you don't need a separate foot. Okay, some smaller little accessories here that come with it. We'll be working with this. This is a multi-purpose tool. It's kind of got a thin side, a thick side, and there's a hole in one of the little fingers. So you can use this to hop over a really thick seam. So if you've ever heard of a Gina-majig or a hump jumper, we'll show you that when we sew over a denim seam to help you keep the foot level at all times. You can use this to sew a button on, and it provides a little spacer and have an extra bit of thread. So when you button a second piece of fabric to an item like an actual garment, there's room with that spacer for that fabric to be in there. And then the last one is the hole at the tip that is perfectly shaped like a needle, and then that way you can help get that needle in or out, and it's a nice extension of your finger. So again, I'll be using that quite a bit. Cleaning the machine. You've got a wonderful brush to help bring out all the lint. You're going to need to take these 2 screws off to get below the throat plate, which we'll show you. And there is a short screwdriver. There's 2 screwdrivers that come with this machine. I'm going to use the short one here to twist off those screws, and you can use the longer one to take off the ankle, or even remove and tighten the needle here. So both options depending on what works well for you. You also have a seam guide. So this little guy will hook through the back part of the foot. There's a hole and a screw, and you can set that seam guide for wherever you want it to be and help you sew perfectly straight lines. We also have there's always a seam ripper in a sewing machine. So the handle is, of course, the top, so make sure you use that. And I'm kind of glad they always put a seam ripper in with every sewing machine because we always need more of those. This is a vertical spool pin. This will sit on the top of the machine, and you can even put a little felt pad on it, so if you have a spool that needs to be vertical, it will then spin off the right direction. There is a hole, there it is right there, right up front where it will sit perfectly, and then you just take it off when you want to close the lid up. And then we have spool caps, because some of your threads are actually going to be on this horizontal spool pin, and they are going to help hold them on. So depending on your size of spool, use the bigger one for a bigger end cap, and if you have some smaller spools, you'll use the smaller one. We also have a pack of needles. I know this will just get you started. It's not a ton of needles, but you have some universal, some jeans, and a stretch needle. So we'll talk needles about this machine. You can actually use any brand of sewing machine needles as long as they're designed for a home sewing machine. Inspira needles are what you're going to find at your local Pfaff retailer. They are great needles. I love them. We sell them all the time at our store. A little thread net. Now this is something you don't need very often. Most of the time they're just sitting in the bottom of my accessory box. But if you ever have a spool of thread that just wants to like puddle or not behave, even metallic threads, I've been known to slide this over the whole spool and the thread is like tamed as it comes off. So if you ever have anything that's just not working out well, this might be your answer. So again, always keep it in where you can get to it because you never know when it's going to be. Now there's tons of other feet available. We'll talk about a few of them, and we talk about a lot of them in our Pfaff Stitching Cosmos online course. Remember, you can check out 10 videos for free. There's links below this YouTube video, but I think it's time to get started into threading and winding a bobbin and stitching out all these fabulous stitches in this machine.